everybody! So today I'm going to be trying out a new video format. I hope you all like it. In this video we're going to be doing context-based animations as part of my in-depth animation series. We are going to be going over some topics we have already talked about, so I'd recommend at least watching my in-depth animation basics video. I'll link it in the description as well as putting up a card. A context-based animation is basically an animation that will play at a certain environment, whether that be balancing on a rope, maybe even a different idle pose based on the location, or changing the walking pose based on the environment. Well, in this video, this is what we're going to make. When making something within a context, we need to figure out when the player is in that context. So the tools that we are going to be needing are in the sensors and input section. Specifically, in our case, we want to make a rope balancing animation when we are in a narrow area. A way to do this is to see if there is no ground next to the player's feet. We can use a laser scope for this purpose, as it will tell us if it has hit something or not, basically telling us if there is ground near the player's side. Another case we want to make is unique animations depending on the area you are in. We can easily do this with a tag on the player and trigger zones in the areas we want to trigger unique animations. In my case, I want a walking pose change in the forest and an idle pose change in the deep caves. Go ahead and place trigger zones in the areas you want the unique animations to play, and grab a laser scope and stamp it onto the player's handkerchief. First things first, you want to make your animation. In this video, I'm not going to be going over the specifics of this, so if you want to know more about keyframes and timelines, go ahead and watch my in-depth animation basics video. Now, for the balancing animation, we can actually spice it up a little. Instead of the usual 3 keyframe loop or a singular modulating keyframe, what we can do is set up a signal generator to randomize and ping-pong the animation. You may have seen this if you watched Acert's One Special Day stream. To do this, we can set the minimum slider, the first in the set, of the maximum value to 0, and the maximum minimum value to 1. This gives us a value of 0 to 1 at random intervals, thus giving us a smooth random animation. Now, once you have the animation ready, you can go ahead and plug the signal manipulator's output to the playhead's input when the timeline is open. For some reason you can't do this from the properties menu, only the open timeline. Once you have the animation playing to your liking, now we just need to animate it in context. Well, what is our context? When balancing, there is no ground to the left or right of us. We already got our tool to detect this. However, since a ray scope is only one ray, we will need 2, and since we have 2, we want to make sure that neither of them are sensing the ground. Since we have 2 signals, we need an OR gate to combine the signals. Then, since they tell us when the player is near the ground, we need a NOT gate to tell us when they are not near the ground. We also want to ensure that we are only balancing when on the ground. This is pretty easy to detect with the Puppet interface gadget. All puppets come with one, but I like using a new one for every situation. We need an AND gate for our 2 conditions. On the second page of the Puppet interface is an on-ground input. Go ahead and plug this into the AND gate. Once you have the ray scopes plugged into the OR gate, plug the OR gate into the NOT gate, then the NOT gate into the AND gate, and the AND gate into the timeline. Make sure you have positioned the gizmos of the ray scopes to the left and right of the player. And once you do, you'll find that animation plays in context. One other thing we can do is smooth the transition. In order to do this, we basically want to slowly power on the animation and slowly power it off. We can do this by inserting a signal manipulator between the AND gate and the timeline, and then using the sliders on the first page to get it to smoothly power on and off. Now that that's done, we can change our walking pose when we are in a certain area or context. In my case, I want our character to prance when in the forest, and cower when in the deep part of the cave. Now our context here is a zone, so we can place trigger zones in the area we want these animations to trigger. Once placed, we want to make sure that they are set to detect tags. Go ahead and put the name of the area in the name to detect field. Now, using the tag we placed earlier, we're going to detect when we are in the zone. To do so, simply name the tag the same name you put in the name to detect field in the trigger zone. Make sure to use the same capitalization and punctuation, or else it won't work. Once this is done, we have our trigger for our context. Now, we can't just activate the pose with just the tag, as that would also change the idle pose. So, to differentiate between idling and walking, we need to tell if the player is walking or not. The puppet interface, which we discussed earlier, also has a walking strength output. We can use this to tell if the player is walking or not. However, this output gives us a value between 0 and 1, depending on the speed, so we need to use a tool to change this value to an on or off value. To achieve this, we can use a calculator and compare the signal against a value of 0. Once you have the calculator, go ahead and hook up the movement strength to the A input, then we can change the compare type to greater than. Since we want to know if the movement strength is more than 0, we can leave the B slider at 0. This is basically asking if our speed is more than 0. Now that we have our two inputs to detect if we are in the context, we need an AND gate because we want both inputs to be active to be considered in context. Once you wire the tag and calculator into the AND gate, we can plug the AND gate into the keyframe, giving us a new walking pose. The process to make the idle animation is very similar. We can simply add another AND gate and a NOT gate, as we want to know when we are not moving, and we already know when we are. Hook up the calculator to the NOT gate, then the tag and NOT gate to the AND gate, then to your animation. Now we have our new idle pose for a certain context. We can also use a signal manipulator here to get a smoother transition for that idle animation. I really liked making this scene and level. I really went ham on it, and I hope you all enjoy the scenery. I also really hope that you enjoyed the video format. Let me know in the comments if you did. And I have many more videos to come in this format, and if you have any suggestions for a video or tutorial, go ahead and let me know. I hope you all comment, like, and subscribe. Also, I got a Patreon if you're interested in that kind of thing. I get 1 day early access videos on there. So if you're watching this from a Patreon, hi. Yeah, other than that, bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.